Oh, did it? Did the voices line up?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We're good to go.
The voices
Let's get
did
it
what
started.
the voices do.
We got Clyde, fan favorite, in the background.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
see
going to
what's
start off the episode back here with...
Clyde. Have you ever seen a loaf of bread more elegant, more butter-worthy?
He does look buttery.
Buttery.
That's a buttery boy.
He looks like a big old chunk of buttery bread.
We're going to zoom in on that.
He's currently on a diet, and that's why he's pissed. He's sitting there thinking about how he hasn't eaten his normal wagers. All right. Cool. Let's get started. Chad, you want to take us off?
Good evening.
My name is Robert Braley.
That wasn't me starting it off.
I'll take it away.
My name is Chad,
I'm Robert Braley.
and this is Intellectually.
The show.
Get it together, guys.
The show where we teach you how to be a professional in the field that we're in, particularly real estate. And I didn't even say that right. It's a show where we teach you how to hold us professionals accountable. Is that better?
That's
Did I
it.
nail
It's
That's
a
the
show
one.
we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah. You got to help us with that. So, let's get started. You got the rundown of how you want to go over. How did you guys decide you wanted to run this show out?
Well, you've been making me stare at this Fitz's for like an hour.
You've never had Fitz's, right?
So
Okay.
I'd like to start with that.
Cool. So what is Fitz's?
I've never had it before. I'm not the one. I'm not the one.
So Fitz's is a restaurant, but it's something that originated, or it's made in St. Louis, root beer.
Yeah.
So Fitz's root beer. The restaurant is in University City
Yeah.
on Del Mar, so on the Del Mar Loop.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to give some more insight into the Loop.
We have a friend that works there right now. So the Loop is,
I guess you can call her my friend.
well, yeah.
It's my lady's sister.
Anj, if you see this, we love you.
It's my lady's sister.
There, yeah, right. So, yeah, the Loop. If you guys don't know anything about the Loop, it's just kind of a cute little. I was gonna say square, but cute little strip that
Yeah.
has kind of a train or what
Trolley.
are those? Trolley that goes up and
Yep.
down.
Which
There's-
is still running.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
also go to church there. Somebody works there. We also just like to go there because there's a lot of cool, odd, different shops and things like that. You'll find some cool figurines if you're weird or nerdy, and you'll find some cool comic book areas, and then some authentic clothing shops that your girlfriend likes to go check out every now and then.
Basically, everywhere we went when we couldn't get into
Yeah.
Fitz's.
And then that's also where that that different country foods location, I forget what it's called there. That's where I got those crabs that were disgusting. But yeah.
Little.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
Those
International.
were, I'll eat anything, but those were the worst things I've ever eaten in my life. So either way, so you guys want us to, so what do you want us to do
Well,
here?
so I want you guys to taste test. So whoever's watching right now can see the flavors kind of in front of them, but they cannot see the flavors. I want them to each take a sip and see if they can guess the flavor.
So you're
I
going to give
guess.
us the names of these like intricate names?
They might be intricate. They might be
Oh, jeez.
normal. You never know, but you're going to taste test them and we're going to see what happens.
I like it.
All right, we doing both at the same time? or
Yeah,
Are
what?
we
so-
grading it from 1 to 10?
You can rate it as well. But yeah, why
Okay.
don't you guys start with the red one on the end there?
Perfect.
Ooh, fruity.
You give it a little sniff, get it a little twirl.
When did Fitz's start?
Fitz's, it might be on one of those bottles. We'll find out in a second.
Well, look it up for me. I was trying to find
Yeah,
it.
I got that one. That one's cherry or something, I'm assuming. It's red.
That's not cherry. That's like, tastes like watermelon.
Oh, that's good. I actually like watermelon.
Is this good? Is this like
That tastes like watermelon.
Ratings out of 10.
They've sat here for a little
Well,
bit. while
okay, I
we're
can't.
saying
Yeah, I
that.
was gonna say,
I
did they
can't
go
give a
flat?
rating on a
They went
10
a little bit
before I
flat.
Before you
tried
know the flavor.
the other one. No, before
Rob
I tried
likes
the other
it.
ones.
He downed it.
Well, I just.
Are we
I'm
rating
gonna
these-
say-
Do you want me to give you the flavor before you do the other ones?
No, are we rating these on Fitz's or just soda in general?
Soda in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to be nice
not
to you,
mine.
Fitz, even though you're local.
By the way, Fitz's originated, well, it got its start in St. Louis in
Yeah.
1947.
Where are they
So
at now?
actually, I
Have they
feel like not
expanded?
too long ago.
Oh, yeah. 1947. That's like yesterday.
I will say it didn't have too much of a sugar aftertaste, so I did
Okay.
enjoy that.
That was good. I'm going to give it, because I don't like those kind of sodas, And because it was a little bit flat, maybe can I do this without looking?
Yeah, that's
Don't
fine.
Don't look at the title.
Now Chad can't have any germs.
Oh yeah, I can.
I don't want it. No.
What is it?
It's
Makes sense.
it's Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple.
Do you think you could have guessed that? Because you love Shirley
I
Temples.
got it mainly because I really wanted to try it.
Did you try it?
No,
No, oh, and I just drank out of the
no, that's fine.
That is what that is.
That's
Yeah.
so that one's Shirley Temple. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a Shirley Temple, have I?
Like in general,
I don't think so. Maybe
a
I've
Shirley
sipped
Temple,
one.
if you get it like at the bar,
Yeah.
is just Sprite and grenadine. So I think
Yeah,
if grenadine is cherry, you might kind of been on track, Chad.
I'm pretty sure that's.
that's
But
true.
he said cherry,
Grenadine
so,
is
yeah.
cherry. So yeah, that makes sense.
Next one in.
Knowing that, 4 out of 10. Go on.
Next
A
up.
little dark, huh? A little Guinness. No, I'm just kidding. I swear it's soda.
It's so
That's
flat.
coffee.
Is it really flat?
It is coffee. No, it's not coffee.
Chad's face.
Hold on.
No, not actually. Is it like coffee flavored something?
No.
Well, it's Oh, I'm cracking
I
up.
want to try it.
Yeah, so that one's just coffee.
No way.
So
Yep.
that's actually just
You
coffee.
actually
Yep.
guessed coffee. I would have never guessed
Dude,
that.
Chad's on a roll.
He is, dude. Wow. I'm impressed.
You don't think that tastes like coffee?
No, I suck at stuff like this.
I like coffee.
Wow.
Not like that though.
Try it. Try it. Pour some of that in there, the fresh stuff, because it's not flat.
No,
Obviously.
I thought that was awful.
Oh, you like coffee, but you hate that. Sorry, Fitz. I'm gonna say that just tasted like Coca-Cola.
I will
to
say
me.
if you
Really?
do like that kind of
Or-
stuff, that
I'll
would be
drink more
great.
pop,
That's just
though,
not my
the
thing.
trouble. Yeah. I'm gonna give it.
Coffee, that was coffee cola, yeah.
I could see somebody enjoying it. I could see somebody thinking it's like a cola. Mm-hmm. So I would give it 7.
Okay.
Would you give
Chad?
it?
Oh, that's 4.
Ooh, he doesn't like the coffee. All right, next one. This one will be fun. Show him your glass.
Green.
Green.
Bonnie, you can't be squeaking that.
Ginger ale.
Does it really taste like ginger ale?
It's like It's like a Sprite. I don't know.
It tastes like something you would get.
It's not
like,
quite
at a
Sprite,
kid's
but
birthday party.
It's like a mix of ginger ale
Yeah.
and Sprite, but I can't.
That's a kid's birthday party pop. Hold on. But
You're trying
it's
more of
also
it?
because it's flat, and that's usually when I can.
Or like a Mountain Dew.
yeah.
I don't really get what the flavor is.
Voodoo, Mountain Dew, it's the same thing.
Is it?
Voodoo.
The
Is that what it's
flavor
called?
is voodoo.
That's cool. Yeah, I could definitely taste the Mountain Dew flavor now that I've
Interesting.
tried it.
So do you think they just like
I will say everything that I've tasted so far, it's almost like a better, less sugary version of
The normal ones.
the popular brands.
dude,
That's
all
good.
of
Mountain
Fitz's
Dew.
is really good. Yeah.
I like them. I like them.
Like I'm not a soda guy, but
Yeah,
I get why people like it.
Yeah.
I gotta try more sodas.
And
is
last
crazy.
one. Take
cream.
Clean my
take a
palate.
whiff. Take a whiff of the last one. You'll know what it is right away.
Hold on. That's cream soda.
I knew Rob would know that right away.
That's the only thing I've ever really enjoyed out of
Like I
pop.
said, it's
Who
a
gets
less
to drink
sugary
that
version
one?
of your
Soda?
favorite,
coffee cola.
except that one.
This is the cream soda.
So
It's fresh.
yeah, tell us a little bit more about the loop if you guys rate that one first, cream soda.
That was a good cream soda. I mean, I'll give it a 7.
I'll give it an 8 just because I like cream soda.
Not a 10. What would be a 10?
I don't like pop, so I don't know what a 10 is. Yeah, or soda. I don't know. Do they call it pop?
Here it's soda. Don't
It's
say pop
soda.
in St. Louis, by the
Well,
way.
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, years
Yeah.
ago, but you call it pop where I'm from because it gets so cold down there or over there, up there.
If you leave it in your car.
It'll pop.
Yeah.
So there's your.
Yeah. Anything else about the loop? That you
Yeah,
guys
so I
wanna-
mean, the loop, it's just north. So the loop has an interesting idea, right? Because we're right outside of WashU. So you're going to get a lot of students, a lot of investments out there. A lot of student living, so you're going to have a lot of cool diversity.
I'm gonna say lots of diversity.
Yeah, and I love that part about it. I've worked with a lot of clients that just particularly like to buy homes or invest in renting out there simply because it's very diverse. And that's kind of like what you get when you get the loop. You get just a big old melting pot of just walking through it is electric, and it's a very cool event. They also got that cool rooftop bar. It's called Moon.
Eclipse.
Eclipse, yeah, above the Moon Hotel. Eclipse is a very cool area to go to.
They have bowling. They have mini golf. Blueberry Hill is a big one. That's a restaurant that has mini golf and
investing there is it's an annoying idea, right? Because you'll hear a lot of people get upset about that Del Mar line in St. Louis that can do what some would argue. It's hard to prove this argument, but some would argue that the Del Mar line does a very absolute value decrease and increase above and below. Because you got the Olivet, the Ladue areas below, and then you got the North St. Louis, couple counties in North St. or not counties, municipalities in North St. Louis can struggle a little bit in the property values. So that being said,
the Del Mar Divide is actually
the Del Mar Divide.
Del Mar Divide, and it's annoying to have to deal with that. It's an interesting idea. I guess one of the big things that I would argue probably took place was when it was like during the original times when segregation was more of a socially acceptable idea. There were some big measures in which roads were blocked off in order to keep certain races and prejudice ideas races at bay and prejudice ideas at large.
Can't you still see some of those too? There's some roads where at the end they have those giant concrete.
Yeah, and I think it's not obviously more of a prejudice of objective now.
Right.
It's more just to keep the hooligans out, the younger kids from cruising up and down some streets, which I can understand. If you're trying to keep property values, you're going to have any kid with a cool sports car or a motorcycle or something try to pull something off. So that decreases that opportunity a little bit, which increases your property values. But it is crazy. You go north of that line and you could see a 50% decrease in value versus a property south of that line. You'll see it almost go twice the value. And, that's where you get your saying location, 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 right?
It's a pretty interesting immediate jump.
You
see over there.
Absolutely. Cool. Right. So let's get started on a topic that we addressed a little bit towards the end last week podcast. So this week I was just kind of motivated because I keep seeing these different YouTube videos, shorts and highlights. Who knows if it's my algorithms and who knows if it's just, fear mongering and people trying to get clickbaits, right? But there's big conversations going on where some sides are saying the housing market isn't, showing huge signs of a recession. Others are saying, what the heck is going on with the housing market? So I wanted you to, along with myself, sorry, I got air in me from all this pop I've been drinking. But I wanted you to, along with myself, we just kind of answer the question through some different research. I guess I'll let you take the point. You like to nail it down to 3 topics, right? What were those topics that you came up with?
Yeah, so the first one we were talking about, which everyone has noticed so far, is oil prices, right? Yeah. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and people in the past have said, well, that happened in 2008. So
well, hold tight. Before we go into each one, if you don't mind just kind of setting the route.
Yeah, okay. So first topic will be, no, you're good. First topic will be oil prices causing a scare. And then we'll jump into what actual neighborhoods, cities, different areas of the U.S. are suffering, and how does that compare to St. Louis?
Yep.
And then next we want to hit on, do these major cities that we bring up and all these issues have a likeliness to actually spark another recession? Because that's, I think, what people are worried about, right?
Or at least would spark a question in that area. I do want to correct one thing. Suffering may be too aggressive of a word. Speaking to individuals down there, like Charleston was one area that popped up on a couple radars. But, Cass just bought a property, or he's renting down there, and he's looking at a property. He's a friend that just moved down there. You ask him, he'd be like, what's going on? Charleston seems fine. So, and, there's a lot of expansions down there. So it's just more the cities we're going to point out are experiencing shifts. And some people are calling those huge clues or cues. So that being said, what did you find doing?
I guess we'll talk about the kind of shifts that we're seeing.
Okay.
Right?
Well, oil was the first one, or do you want to go shifts? Whatever you feel more comfortable
Yeah, however
with.
you guys want to flow into it. Our number one what we wanted to start talking about
Yeah.
first was the oil prices. Are they causing this scare? Is that why people, you know what I
course they
mean?
are.
Or yeah.
Of course, as of today, the oil price was sitting at $113 a barrel.
Yep.
A year ago, back in 2024, it was about just over $60 a gallon, and then about
Okay.
2 years ago, it was sitting about like 83. So
Yeah.
we're experiencing.
And then if you go back to 2008, oil prices were, or per barrel was
about
140, correct?
140.
Yeah. So it's a cool thing, right? We brought up the topic of what accelerated the prices of oil in 2008. You know, that whole recession and crisis going on.
A multitude of things.
Yeah. So when you looked it up, you're just like, dude, there's a bunch of different variables. Obviously, what's the major variable that's increasing oil prices right now?
Was the war? And I think that's the biggest major difference here that we have.
Yeah. So a lot of professionals, and I don't disagree with them. A lot of economists will say, you know, one of the clues and the key signs to a recession is you'll see a huge spike in oil prices, right? Because oil in our economy globally is one of the biggest determining factors, right? If oil prices go up, gas prices between traditional gas, diesel, those all spark up. And that's not just going to affect your transportation, right? That's also going to affect transportation of goods and services, right? It's also going to affect the operation of the machinery that may be handling or producing those goods, right? So you got the tractor that plows the fields, and then you got all these, let's say tomatoes, for example. You got the products that spray, plant the seeds, you know, grow the tomatoes. Then you got the tractors that plow the fields or move the tomatoes back through, right? And then you got the trucks that transport those tomatoes to the supermarket. And then maybe you got some process that fuels the the refrigerators that keep those tomatoes cool or something like that. Just all these things affected by oil, gasoline, and different energies there.
Essentially everything.
Yeah. And so you're like, all of a sudden when you see gas prices go up, you're like, dang, it's going to be an annoying commute this month. But then you don't realize that even tomatoes are directly affected by this. So that being said, we talked about what was the major effect, likely the biggest sufferers and or people raising a fuss in the housing market.
The builders.
Yeah, the builders, the construction.
New
right?
home construction.
New home construction are really, really raising a fuss right now. We're seeing in a lot of these major cities, they're cutting their costs. There's some crazy deals on new construction, right?
And you know why is obviously construction costs are increasing, but especially in these areas, especially in places like Texas and Florida, who over the past 4 to 5 years have built the most homes out of every other state in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now,
I actually saw something that was like saying that they overbuilt.
Well, right.
Yeah.
They overbuilt, and that's why they're
They were
experiencing.
prepared for the influx from, you know, states like California. And makes sense. Sorry, I cut you off.
You know, so when you have this influx in inventory and new builds that aren't selling or aren't selling for the prices in which they thought they were going to sell
They
for,
invested in,
what happens then?
Yeah.
Right?
Could you look something up for me? What is the price, the jump in particularly steel and aluminum, if you don't mind?
Jump in steel and aluminum, just like
Just over
in
the
general?
past year. Yeah.
According to, what is this source?
But either way, steel and aluminum prices on those particularly have gone up, obviously.
I mean, this says 33% to 39%.
Yeah, which is a crazy
For aluminum.
increase. Yeah,
Steel 20 to 21. So that's actually
21%. That's a lot.
Yeah,
20%
that's a lot.
to 21%.
Yeah, an increase in price, 20 to 21%. Yeah. Just think about those ideas, right? One of the biggest major factors in building, right, besides wood, are going to be steel and aluminum, and those prices are shooting through the roof right now. A 30% increase on one of the major variables to build a property going up, right? 30%. That's going to affect a builder. That's going to affect an investor that's purchased all this land, got a loan out for a certain repay amount, certain interest rate that they signed up for, all these things. So yeah, they're raising a fuss, and they should be raising a fuss, right? Now we go back to the idea of, is this a recession? Well, it's hard to really pinpoint a recession based off oil prices. I keep hearing all these people say, well, when oil prices shoot up, that's a sign of a recession. The only difference is, you said yourself, when you looked up the oil price increase in like the 2008 housing crisis and that Great Recession is what they call it.
It wasn't even a reason
Yeah,
that
it was
listed.
multiple factors,
it was so many
right?
factors, yeah.
This one, there's literally, I keep forgetting the term,
Strait
yeah,
of Hormuz.
Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody's talking about it, right? Strait of Hormuz. I can't stick the word in my vocabulary for some reason, but yeah, that's obviously holding things up, holding stagnant. You were talking about how it's a bigger effect on Europe, but it's definitely something that's increasing costs of all production, which is affecting the builders. So they're raising a fuss, but that's a very specific variable that will not last forever, will not last long enough to trigger oil prices to consistently stay high.
But
right?
oil prices, I feel like, fluctuate all the time.
They do fluctuate all the
Maybe
time.
not to like an extreme, but
They jumped up too high. So the idea is, right, in that regard, when you have somebody invest a certain amount, their hope is that you don't see fluctuation in the economy, right? So when you see something fluctuate that crazy and it affects things like steel prices 20% and aluminum prices 30%, all of a sudden this loan you took out to get something done isn't as viable, and it's a lot more eerie to attempt to pay back when it comes due, right? So, or when it matures, if you will. So that's my take on oil prices and whether or not they are actually affecting or giving hints or signs of a recession. I would argue you got nothing to win me over, right? Yet.
Sure. You know, I can also have the understanding of your average consumers, again, and then they have a weekly reminder every time they go up to fill up their gas tank that oil prices are high. So in a lot of ways, you can gauge that as they're seeing this too, right? As their confidence going down, or it's certainly not going up right now.
Yeah. So it's definitely like you could have that scare tactic, like that fear monger does affect the buyer, does affect the seller, and they don't enter the housing market. And yeah, that's a great point to kind of say, you know, it's not just the builders that are affected of it, but the fact that they are raising a fuss leads to that final point. Is this something that could trigger or spark a housing crisis? We can approach that later.
I'm going to say now we're seeing this in majority in major markets in the South. I mean, specifically like Miami, Nashville, which we were talking about. Do we really consider that the South? Yes. I mean, yes, no.
3 to 4 hours south of us. That's true. Yeah.
You got Texas, again, Florida, Texas. You know, we have Las Vegas, Florida, Texas. It's everything in the South, right?
Oh, yeah.
Texas and Florida specifically. These are the markets
Southwest,
that are truly, quote unquote, would you say, suffering, or I would say more struggling.
Yeah.
Right now.
I also know Colorado is in there. I think it's
It's one of the strongest
Like
buyers
Denver?
markets.
no, just struggling the same as these markets that you're saying.
Because these ones are, I guess, quoted as the most struggling markets,
Yeah.
or the highest buyer, or the strongest buyers market.
Good to know.
In the
Cool.
U.S.
Yeah.
Which again, this is Redfin data, but
Yeah.
again, there's two states that aren't included in here that are not Texas, or that are included here that are not Texas and Florida. The top 10.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very cool. I mean, yeah. So they over prepared. They got excited. Yeah. That's my point on the oil. Any other ideas before we move on to the other topic?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
brings us to the second
What
point.
brings us to the next topic is just because, again, we're seeing this in some of these markets, does this mean as a whole in the U.S. or specific metros or areas are experiencing this? You know, what can they expect? Again, where we're at right now, St. Louis is a great example.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most balanced markets when it comes down to the idea of the median home price. Right, we're in a back end, so we're about 3.1% down median home price. Right. Well, another interesting fact was the increase in price per square foot, but we'll get into that.
Yep.
But
I guess you're trying to. Are you accidentally jumping to the end? Like, will this spark a recession kind of mentality?
no, I was just kind of thinking
You're
of
saying, how does this compare to St. Louis?
well, how does St. Louis compare to some of these really
These
strong
major markets,
buyers?
yeah.
Which again, and you go the opposite direction in the strong sellers markets, which we're seeing a lot in the north.
Yeah.
We're not, St. Louis is not sitting is as strong as the sellers market as some
No,
of these
yeah.
other
So when it
states
comes
whatsoever.
to St. Louis, obviously the way I put it, and I guess I could say this a little bit later too, but we just talked about the idea like these markets overstimulated, right? They had an influx of people moving in, thus an influx of buyers, people looking in those specific areas. They're trying to replace their California coast, right, if you will. And if you treat it like a guy that has a lot of coffee or a kid that has too much candy, they're going to have this huge high, right? They're going to have this huge acceleration of activity, running around, gunning, getting stuff done. But what always happens at the end? You just kind of just crash.
Yeah, crumbles,
right?
crumbles.
Now,
yeah.
it's not a market crash. I would argue what they're experiencing, unfortunately, is a reset. Because even though these numbers are changing, they're not changing incredibly drastic, especially with the fact that there's still so much equity in houses right now. You know, the people that aren't entering the market, they're not, they still have so much equity in the house. So when you have this recession, you might have too much money owed versus the asset that you can, you know, back that money up. But right now, the assets still hold so much equity versus the money that is owed on it. So even though these markets are going through a decrease in property valuation, right, and property value, and the owners are refusing to believe that, and they're sitting on the market longer, I still can't see it as something that's causing a recession, because it's just more of a denial from the owners, a slow response time for the fact that we're not experiencing a recession. We're just resetting back to a stable buyer-seller environment, right?
Yeah, and kind of like what we
Yeah.
were talking about before is, you know, also too, these sellers are considering, why are they even selling, right?
Yeah. Why
What
are
is
they
the reason
selling? Interest rates are higher. I got nothing to lose. I like my house.
And like what you were saying, these are first world problems that they're having, right?
First world problems. I'm gonna probably get hit for saying that, but I mean,
everyone knows they have them.
yeah, first world problems. The analogy I gave to you was this, right? When you anticipate this river to be flowing, so much water's coming in, you start investing so much different energies and returns from that water coming. And just like an economy treated like a river, if it starts to slow down, you're going to start seeing people start to freak out, particularly people that invested money into it or are wanting to invest money into it, right? So when the river stops supplying as much water, it's starting to reset back to its traditional flow, and people get upset about that, right? But yeah, that's a lot on the first topic. What was the next one?
Well, actual neighborhoods suffering. Well,
So
not
what do you-
suffering.
yeah, what do you
and how they
have?
compare to St. Louis.
Yeah.
So as far as other neighborhoods, I don't like the term
Cities.
neighborhood here.
Other cities. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
cities.
Sorry, we have, again, cities like Miami, Florida, Nashville, Austin, Texas, West Palm Beach that have well over 100% oversell, or the amount of sellers over buyers.
Yep.
Right. One very interesting stat that I was looking at in regards to St. Louis, let me pull this up real quick, was the idea of what makes St. Louis still consistently a top 10 buyers market.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, you know, I'll let you take this. Let me go find, I lost this research here real quick, but if you want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, I mean, consistently make St. Louis. Were there points that they were making in there, or do you just want me to kind of answer my?
I want to
of
get your
why?
opinion, and then I'll bring
Yeah.
up the points that were made.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully I'm right there. But I guess I would say, like, in the idea of St. Louis being a top 10 buyers market is because St. Louis actually has a bad rap in a way versus other major cities. And because of that, that's kind of an advantage during this huge influx of the housing market. You know, during COVID, when houses were booming in prices, we had these major cities experiencing incredible levels of property increase. And even though St. Louis properties went up in price, they still didn't compare to these cities that Chad just went over. Didn't compare at all. And it's just that same idea is like, wow, these other cities in Florida and Texas and Tennessee were drinking so much coffee or eating so much candy, and now they're starting to feel their crash. They're not dying. They're just getting tired because they had so much exhilaration. St. Louis was over here, and we just drank a couple cups of coffee, and we're like, "Yeah, dude, I'm not as."
It's
Yeah.
the good old
coffee.
saying is don't get too high on your highs and don't get too low on your lows.
Yeah,
that's
so-
exactly what's happening in these other cities.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything special the city's doing. I just think, unfortunately, they were less coveted, so they didn't retaliate as much to that coveting idea. That being said, I think St. Louis is going to benefit from it now because we're seeing that influx in the Midwest areas, and places like St. Louis are getting recognized not only by buyers but investors. So you're seeing more businesses starting to come out this way, which is pretty cool. Were you able to?
Yeah.
Find it?
So some of the stats, this is from Zillow Research, by the way, which goes into depth of why they ranked St. Louis number 6 and one of the best cities in 2026 for first-time home buyers. The home buying age of households as a share of total households is 33%.
Yep.
Percentage of median household income spent on rent, not mortgage, rent right now is 20%.
Cool.
Which is much lower.
Which is crazy
than the national
right?
average, yes.
Because I hear people saying rent prices are going up everywhere, and you're like, holy cow, they're even higher elsewhere.
In this one, I thought was interesting. Affordable listings
okay.
as a share of total for sale inventory. So essentially, what they're saying is the buyer has no more than 30% of their household income going to housing, and that's after the down payment. So that's what is considered affordable
It smells like
listings.
coffee now.
Yeah, that's gross. Affordable listings in the city. And St. Louis, again, has about 68% of the listings are considered affordable, which is quite a high number compared to some of these
I
other
agree
cities.
with you. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see that take place, right? You're getting a lot of unrecognition, and then just be like top 10 cities for first-time home buyers. Now, first-time home buyers, what does that look like? They said 33 years old, right? So we're hitting that 30-year age where, they were saying millennials and Gen Zs are starting to invest in properties a little bit older in their
Later
life versus
on,
versus our previous generations and our ancestors, which were looking for properties in their younger careers. So could they say that St. Louis is a safer bet, right? Even though it's less ambitious, right? It's a safer bet. It's more of a relaxed atmosphere. And from that analysis, I would argue if you're in St. Louis or you're looking at St. Louis and moving there, it's kind of cool to think that you and I and all three of us run an area that we don't really have to worry about being unethical when we say, yeah, dude, if you want to buy a house, you're good to go, right? If you can afford it and you're confident in your income, buying a house isn't a bad idea here. And based off the topics we've talked about so far, the cold data that we're looking at, I got no idea proven yet from what, has been presented by the 2.5 topics. Man, he's about to break. He needs a diet. But anyways, sorry, we're talking about Clyde, the bread loaf. But I got no proof that these other areas that are experiencing these resets, if you will, are going to spark any form of a recession, any form of effect on the St. Louis. And in fact, all major companies like Redfin, NAR, Zillow are all projecting prices to increase, and they're not projecting any chaotic levels on a national average as well. So pretty cool to say that if the national average is still seeming pretty consistent and there's a heavy reset in the areas where they might have drinking too much coffee, right? The markets that were not as affected too much, didn't drink too much coffee, are completely okay to invest in a property, right?
Absolutely.
Or buy your first home. Start contributing towards equity versus all towards a landlord. Sorry, landlords, I'm one too. So, but that being said, what other ideas do we want to project on?
Well, one statistic
cities?
that I thought was interesting was homes, the amount of time that they're selling in St. Louis versus the national average. So this is also Redfin data, but homes in St. Louis are selling average 27 days versus the national average, which is 48 days.
It's about half.
So that's,
cool.
yeah.
And we experience that too for our buyers and our sellers, right? When our buyers want to get a property, if it's a nice property, if it's eligible and it's in a good price range, you're going to get a bidding
Oh my
war out
gosh,
here.
bidding war galore.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
If, the properties we're
I'm
selling.
going to patent that phrase.
Yeah, and the properties we're selling, if the owner is comfortable trying to create a bidding war and we put it in a comfortable price range, nothing crazy, nothing really, really low. If you just put it on a standard, you got a good product and we put it in a standard price range for the market, give or take a couple percentiles, you're going to get a bidding war. You're going to get interested parties coming in. We got a lot of bidding wars in the St. Charles, Kirkwood, even some areas in Maplewood. Go a little bit further out, we got some clients out in Lake St. Louis that are really bidding heavy. And I also know some properties that we're still getting some bidding wars in some of the lesser coveted areas as well. So it's just kind of cool to think about, no matter where properties are in St. Louis, we got some.
And St. Louis market is experiencing one of the lowest price reductions that the U.S. is seeing right now. It's in a low of 12.6% of listings are getting price reductions.
Yep.
Which
We're
is
in the
great
low
news.
there. We don't have to reevaluate. We understand our market. So good for you agents out there listing properties. You're not over-promising and under-delivering.
I would say we could have a whole nother podcast on that specific
Over-promising
topic.
and under-delivering.
Well,
and I feel
not
bad.
even that, but
I always said the Missouri side of St. Louis. Carterville, as
Carterville's way out there.
Carterville's good, but
that's not St. Louis.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
I would argue Carterville is. It's greater St. Louis metro.
It's 2 hours from St. Louis.
No, it's not. It's about an hour and a half. It still is. But I was thinking Carterville and Edwardsville. Those are great markets. I know O'Fallon and maybe a little bit of Fairview Heights is really booming right now. So, but I'm just trying to pinpoint. But
no, it's sitting at a healthy 2 to 3 months of inventory, sitting in the great area.
Which is a seller's market.
Yes.
Yep.
Very much so.
Yep. Seller's market. The position, like we talked about in the last podcast, is anything below 6 months traditionally is pointed at a seller's market versus a buyer's market. And when they say 2 to 3 months worth of inventory, they're just saying based on the buyers that we have on the market and how long a property will last. If we had this inventory, this much with the buyers that we have and nothing changed, all the properties on the market would sell in 2 to 3 months, right? Kind of cool. Think about so.
I'm gonna swap you a cream soda for a Shirley Temple.
You want some Shirley Temple? Here it comes.
To the swap you're seeing
yep. All right.
I haven't tasted it yet.
Shirley Temple. It's not dirty, right?
No.
All right. Cool. Next up. What's our third point that we wanted to hit on?
Oh, she's going to get your food. That's really funny.
No, you're good.
Well, I think the third one is really, do these major cities and issues have the likeliness to spark an actual recession, which you kind of already indulged in?
Yep.
I think the idea is, again, excuse me, I probably wasn't talking into the mic.
No, you're good.
Don't get so scared on what you're seeing out there right now, specifically given the oil
fear-mongering
prices.
is easier to click on, get clicks for. Yeah.
It's going back to the same thing that we've been preaching since day one on these podcasts is if you have the financial capability and you are ready and it's something that you are willing and want to do, there is no better time to do it than now.
Especially in these areas.
Don't sit and wait for these interest rates to come down, because while that may be a possibility, what else is going to happen? There's going to be a lot more competition on the market.
Yep.
You're going to be competing, and at that point, you will see most likely an increase in prices.
Yeah, there's always a wise purchase to be made, right? It doesn't mean go out and buy anything. And even in a crazy market where, the housing market was like super fluctuated and flamboyant, right? 2022. Everybody was buying a house. It's crazy to think about as that started to slow down. People are like, maybe I shouldn't enter the housing market anymore because it's starting to slow down. When would you argue the biggest mistakes were made? It was during 2021 and 22 where people were waiving inspection contingencies, paying top dollar just to bid a winning war or just to win a bidding war and get into a house. Yeah, just to bid a winning war. But just to get into a house, they were probably bidding an extra $15,000 to $20,000 on a property they might not have even have wanted, right? So right now, is a crazy good time to look at investing in a property because so many topics, so many points are focused on the housing market. And everything we just went over shows no signs that we're going to explode. Anything's going to blow up. So it's kind of cool to think about it that way. And particularly in the St. Louis metro area, it's a great time because you still could get some deals. You know what I mean? Because some people are scared away. You know, your competition's not there as much. So that being said, I also do want to make one other point. Can these other markets spark in any way a pending fuse that we don't know could exist, causing a recession of any form? I would argue the biggest topic that isn't addressed in all these fear-mongering ideas is the fact that during recessions, traditionally towards a housing market, one thing needs to be missing, and that's equity, right? Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of healthy homeowners with mortgages that are well below the equity of their property. It's not that they don't want to sell because they can't. It's because they don't want to sell because they're completely okay with the mortgage they have and the property they have. And not that they can't. And if they did, they probably would get a fair amount of equity, stimulate the market even more. So unlike the recession of 2008 or anything in that field, you had these loans that were given out. And I did the example with you. 2008, they were given loans here, loans there, hundreds of loans there, ninja loans here, ninja there, ninja that, right? And you'd give a house loan for, say, today, it'd be like a $400,000 property. And you give it towards that house. And then when the housing crisis happened, all those $400,000 properties maybe went down to $200,000 to $100,000. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you gave this loan out to this person that defaults, and you get back an asset that's worth half or 1/4 the value of this money you gave out. And of course you're going to struggle. Of course you're going to suffer from that investment. You know, you just stagnated. You just added stagnant to the market by 50 or 75%. But today, if somebody defaults on their mortgage, your asset is well over the value of most mortgages still. There's a lot of equity on the market. So I can't see, to answer that question, I can't see these shifts or resets, if you will, and to conclude that's kind of what they are, stimulating or triggering some kind of spark on a recession, because once again, the housing market is still healthy. It's just slowed down. It's just resetting. Mm-hmm. So,
mic drop.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's all I got for you. How much time do we got?
We're at 42 minutes, folks.
Oh, we talked too much today.
I think it was good.
It was good. It was good. All right, guys. I'm Robert.
I'm Chad.
And there's Hannah.
And I'm Hannah.
Yeah,
and shout
Hannah.
out Fitz's. Go check them out on Del Mar.
Yep. Check them out on Del Mar. They give heck of a
oh my gosh, root beer float.
Root beer float. Yeah, they deck these things out. They have to put a bowl and plate under it. So yeah, you're gonna probably want to order one for 2 people or 1 for 1. But
thanks, guys.
Yeah, this was Intellectually, the show where we teach you to how to hold us professionals in the real estate industry more accountable. You have a wonderful night. We'll see you guys.
Bye-bye.